Good morning. Today I'm going to continue my discussion of some of the books that I have, reference books, resources, things I've studied or kept over the years. And the subject today is going to be ceremonial magic. Now, you kind of see the stack of books I have there, so I'm going to try to get through it. But the thing with ceremonial magic is that it's complex and it's really mind oriented. It's really mental in a way. And if you think about every 2,000 years, a new chakra center lights up. So it gets something is higher, more mental, more spiritual, that kind of thing. Well, what happens at the end of a cycle, suddenly we go back down to the root chakra. And that's what's happening now. I need to say this up front because we are beginning a new cycle. It's already here, and it's the root chakra that is dominant. And an octave above it, which would be 8 spaces above it, or 8, is actually going to be the unity level. Unity chakra is resonating and active at the same time. So what we're actually having is if in Gaia's ascension, and you get Earth splitting into one part and the other part, you're going to have the one part is being driven by the root chakra, and the other Earth is being driven by the unity chakra. And so that's kind of what we see happening. And there is a small group of souls, if you will, that are trying to join them together. They're creating a bridge, and they're actually having full spectrum ascension. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I talk about. That's the path that I have. So ultimately, even though we're going to talk about ceremonial magic, it's obsolete. It doesn't work like it used to. And the Kabbalah is going to really get you into troubles. But as we look at these books, you're going to see it's very pervasive, because that is what was the dominant magical egregore, if you will, the magical energy for the last 2,000 years, was the Kabbalah. And it traces itself back to before Christ even. So anyway, we're starting out with the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn, and just about everybody knows about this book, about the Golden Dawn. It was a magical order, but it was also limited to Masons, the men anyway, that did it. And Aleister Crowley openly published the entire teachings of the Golden Dawn. Some of you have this or whatever. One of the things that Israel Regardie was a student of Aleister Crowley, of course, and continued on with the teachings of the Golden Dawn. One of the interesting things that Israel Regardie had to say was that pretty much as far as he's concerned, if somebody did I forget what he called it, but the middle pillar exercise, eventually they would develop their soul and the powers of their soul, or whatever. So he was recognizing that ability. Anyway, the Golden Dawn, massive. It's all obsolete as far as I'm concerned. The Kabbalah is obsolete. But I should talk about the idea of the Golden Dawn, Masonry, things like that before World War One, because my last video was about Masonry, Freemasonry. You had a big movement that was trying to unite all of the spiritual traditions into one, under one roof, into one school. And John Yarker, he tried to do that under what was called the ancient and primitive rite of Freemasonry, which kind of became, there was two, there was the rite of Mithra and Mazerim, and they joined together, whatever. And after World War One, they were pretty much defunct. One person that is kind of still around to a certain degree, I'll get into that as a little bit later. But first I want to say that I'm going to talk about the OTO and Crowley briefly, then get into the Kabbalah teachings of the Aurum Solis, which was of a Oegdatic tradition, which is based on 8, as opposed to the Golden Dawn, which is based pretty much on 7. So one is kind of a masculine type tradition, the other is more of a feminine oriented tradition. Anyway, here is, this book happens to be, if you could find it, it's probably going to be over $600. OTO, Rituals and Sex Magic, by Theodore Roos and Aleister Crowley. This has all of the, it actually has rituals and sex magic. See what pages have here. The contents: introduction, birth and development of the OTO, Amazing Maze. It has the OTO rituals that were Roos initiated, and then the Crowley early ones, later Crowley ones, the OTO. As you can see, it's got all the initiations and the lectures that go with them. So you've got facsimile or copies of letters and stuff like that. This is a very comprehensive book that was published, and then it was rescinded. It was forced to be taken back. So, because it was considered illegal to publish this stuff. However, and if you want to go on to the online and read about the OTO, there's a place called the OTO Phenomenon, and that's what these books talk about. These books come from the same publishing outfit as this one. But these talk about the beginning of the OTO, all the branches, just about everything that anybody would ever want to know. This is written in German, but this is the first book. Oops, let's see here. The first book, OTO Phenomenon Reload. Book 2, just as thick as the first one. And book 3. Same thick. If you wanted to know about the OTO, it tells just about everything that anybody would ever want to know. Okay, which leads us to Crowley. I did at one point have every book, every publication that Crowley ever wrote, but I long since have given them away. I gave them away to the local OTO lodge that was about 200 miles away from where I live, because I didn't want them anymore. I have, my experience, I have been initiated into the first 3 degrees plus the Minerval degree of the OTO, and it was the 4th degree where you need to swear kind of allegiance or submission to the head of the order, whatever, and I wouldn't do that. And I had a very severe clash with Crowley, a very severe clash with the OTO and with the Kabbalah, even though I had to study it. But that gives, that's an excellent overview of his life. Here's another one, Aleister Crowley, The Beast in Berlin. And Crowley, of course, said that his aim was to be the most holy man in the world and the most evil man in the world. So we're getting into a few other things here. I'm just going to bring this up. Might is Right. It's kind of a book that became, what you call, very controversial. But quite interesting and not fluffy bunny, let me put it that way. Exorial, this is also in German. This is by Gregor A. Gregorius, and it's short stories that demonstrate occult principles as understood by him. And Gregor A. Gregorius, of course, the founder of the Brotherhood of Saturn, Fraternus Saturni, or whatever it was. And they were actually the ones that kept Thelema alive, or the teachings of Crowley alive, even though they didn't really follow them exactly after his death. And just to add to the dark side, again, here you got the Satanic Bible, Anton Sandor LaVey, who actually didn't really have any spirituality particularly. He was just a materialist. Okay, I'm going to have to put these books back. My battery's running low also, so I may have to stop early. But now we're switching over to the aura, or the sola, or what, aurora sol, I forget what the name was. It's the Aurum Solis, and this came out Militia Denning and Osborne Phillips. It was published by Llewellyn Press. I think most people remember, at least the older ones of us remember Llewellyn Press, but they probably don't realize that Llewellyn Press, Carl Llewellyn, I think was, or Wesky, whatever, was the owner, the founder of Llewellyn Press, and he was the head of the Aurum Solis until later on when Militia Denning became the head of that order. And they published all the teachings of the Aurum Solis, which is kind of interesting. Now, this was actually an Oegdatic tradition, which is based on, like I said, based on the number 8 and based more upon, it had more of a Greek Egyptian influence. This is the first of 3 volumes, The Magical Philosophy, The Sword and the Serpent, Volume 2, The Magical Philosophy. Again, all Kabbalah stuff. Volume 3. Big, thick books. Lots of information there. They actually had a book 4, The Magical Philosophy, Planetary Magic, invoking and directing the powers of the planets. The current master of the Aurum Solis is a person named Jean-Louis de Biazzi, and he has some interesting books out. Rediscover the Magic of the Gods and the Divine Arcana of the Aurum Solis, using tarot talismans for ritual and initiation. It's quite interesting what I found. I resonated to a greater degree to the Aurum Solis than I did to anything else. Magical states of consciousness is actually path working for the lower grades, or the basically lower initiations up to the Tiferet, the heart center. At one point I went ahead and I read each initiation out loud and published them online. I don't think they're available anymore. I think maybe wherever I had them posted from, it got taken away or something. But those were very interesting meditations, that path workings. Another, Militia Denning and Osborne Phillips, Entrance to the Magical Kabbalah. You can see how, again, Kabbalah. Jean-Louis de Biazzi. This was about esoteric Freemasonry, and actually, see, he went on and he has it says, as a leading Mason in Europe, Jean-Louis de Biazzi was appointed Grand Officer after successfully restoring the esoteric and Egyptian degrees in one of the most important Masonic group, the Grand Orient of France, with access to highly restricted teachings, is a foremost authority on little-known rituals and practices that can be used by lodges and individually. And down here it says he is an author, lecturer, and philosopher, 32, Scottish Rite, Royal Archmason, before joining. And he is the lifetime head of the Ordo Aurum Solis and the head of the Kabbalistic Order of the Rose Cross in Las Vegas, Nevada. So you're talking about a similar energy thing. Also, the tarot, the magic of the tarot, Militia Denning and Osborne Phillips. The Inner World of Fitness, A Llewellyn Guide to Psychic Strength and Health, Militia Dennings. And A Practical Guide to Creative Visualization, Denning and Phillips. They also had books on astral projection. I used to have that. I gave that away some time ago or whatever. There was something else I wanted to say about, Militia Denning. When the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids was being established, Militia Denning was very active in forming that order. And after, so that the Order of Ovates, Bards, and Druids has a very powerful influence from Militia Denning for people that are interested in that, which I find very interesting. Anyway, I see the battery's going to go dead on this, so I'm just going to comment again and say, as far as I'm concerned, the Kabbalah and the followers of the Kabbalah has become obsolete by advances in science, and new patterns or new egregores are now far more successful. And also, we are it's the chakra center, the energies that were fueling the Kabbalah no longer are dominant in this world. We are back to a root chakra system that's dominant, also with a unity chakra center energy that's dominant. And it totally is screwing with the Kabbalah. Now, because of this, I'm also going to be talking about, in my next video, I'm going to be talking about Dion Fortune. And after Dion Fortune, I'm going to be talking about some books on witchcraft and Wicca that I have. So if you're interested in some of these, just kind of seeing what has been out there, what some of the best is, and maybe getting the inside story behind some of these things, stay tuned. Till next time. Bye.